This week, one clipped cable took down half the internet. A government agency lost passport details of 3 million people through a backdoor it didn't even own. More than 3/4 of workers are quietly handing company secrets to AI, and most don't even know they're doing it. And the man who invented the computer shares a birthday with the man who invented the internet. Hi, I'm Mingya Hansen, and this is your weekly tech news translation, where I take the big stories and hand them back to you in plain English. No jargon and no hype. Let's start with the Monday that had a rough start. A single cut fibre cable on the US coast set off a chain reaction that took down or badly slowed a number of websites and software across 70 countries. This included X, Reddit, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Discord, and Canva. We call a lot of the internet the cloud, which makes it sound really fluffy and everywhere and indestructible. But it's not. There are a bunch of very real cables running under very real ground, and if you clip one, it has a very real impact. The company in the middle of this, Cloudflare, was careful to say that this wasn't really their system failing. The damaged cable belonged to a network provider called Zayo, and this is kind of invisible plumbing most of us have never heard of, but rely on every single day. Here's the thing, it wasn't a one-off bad Monday. Over the same stretch of days, the network analysts at Cisco's Thousand Eyes clocked AT&T going dark for about 45 minutes, with knock-on effects as far away as Poland and India. A couple of days before that, Comcast had its own hiccup too. So if it felt like the internet was held together with duct tape, staples and good intentions last week, you weren't imagining it. None of these were dramatic hacker and hoodie events, they were just ordinary unglamorous ways big systems fail. A cut cable, an overloaded node, a bit of invisible plumbing giving way. The good news was most people were back online fairly quickly, but it's a reminder that the internet's redundancy, otherwise known as the backup plan, still has some very real pressure points. Now, to security, and this week handed us two versions of the exact same lesson. You can lock your own front door and still get robbed through the neighbours. First, a company called Clue got broken into because loads of other businesses had handed Clue a digital spare key, access to their customer databases. The thieves just walked straight in, and one break-in turned into dozens of victims. A stack of these victims were cybersecurity firms themselves, companies whose whole job is stopping exactly this. It's a bit like a locksmith coming home to find their own house cleaned out. If you think this is just a big corporate problem, here's the second one. Over in Texas, the Parks and Wildlife Department, the folks who sell hunting and fishing licenses had a breach that exposed the personal details of more than 3 million people. Names, addresses, phone numbers, driver's license, and passport numbers. The crucial bit is that data didn't leak from the department itself, it leaked from outside the company they'd hired to run the licensing system. So the same lesson as Clue, different victims robbed through someone you trusted with the key. Now, why should you care about hunting license in Texas? Because of what was taken. You can change a password in 30 seconds. You cannot change your passport number or your driver's license as quickly. Those are you for years, and when that kind of data walks out the door, it doesn't expire, it just sits in a drawer somewhere waiting. There's one more person who might be leaking secrets, and it's not a hacker in the hoodie. It might be you, or your team, with the very best of intentions. Here's what's quietly happening in workplaces everywhere. We've all fallen a little bit in love with AI tools. They draft emails, summarize meetings, fix clunky wording. But to get that help, you have to paste something in. The numbers on what people are pasting are eye-watering. One big report last year found more than 3/4 of employees have pasted company information into AI tools, and over 80% of them did it through their own personal accounts, completely outside anything the business could see. Think about what that means in plain terms. Your client list, a signed contract, the pricing spreadsheet you sweated over, The course you haven't launched yet, someone on your team or you at 11 at night just trying to get the thing done drops it into a free chatbot to tidy it up. Here's the catch most people miss. On a lot of the free consumer versions of these tools, what you type in can be used to help train the model. You're not just borrowing the tool, you might be quietly feeding it. The famous cautionary tale here is Samsung. Their own engineers pasted confidential source code into ChatGPT to fix a problem. Not bad intent, just trying to work faster, and handed their crown jewels into an outside system. If it can happen to a company that big, it can absolutely happen at a kitchen table business. So this is your look under the hood moment. The good news is the fix isn't fancy and it isn't expensive. It's 3 plain habits. 1. Decide what never goes in. Have a simple house rule, client data, anyone's personal details, unreleased work, passwords. Those do not get pasted into public AI tools, full stop. Write it on one page. That one page is your AI policy. You don't need a law degree. 2. Mind which door you're walking through. The free version and the paid version of the same tool are not the same thing. The business and enterprise tiers will usually promise in writing they won't train on your data and they keep it private. If AI is now part of how you work, that small subscription is cheap insurance. 3. Go and check your settings. Literally look under the hood. Most of these tools have a toggle, often buried, for whether your chats can be used for training and whether your history is saved. Find it. Set it the way you want it. 5 minutes, once. If you've got even one other person in your business, a VA, a contractor, your partner doing the books, have a 30-second conversation with them. Because the surveys are blunt, people will quietly use whatever tool gets the job done faster, policy or no policy. So the goal isn't to ban it and cross your fingers, it's to give everyone a safe lane to use it in. The tools are brilliant, just don't let the convenience walk your intellectual property straight out the front door. Let's lift our eyes from the day-to-day and look at how AI map is being redrawn at a country level. China's putting together a plan to spend around $295 billion over 5 years building AI infrastructure. Now, keep your head about that number. It's still a draft. And American companies like Meta and Microsoft are spending more than that in a single year. But the strategy is the interesting part. China isn't just building one clever chatbot, it's laying down roads and power stations everyone else will end up driving on. Built at home on homemade chips. Closer to your daily life for the first time ever, ChatGPT has slipped below half the market. It's still biggest by a mile, but it's down to about 46%, with Google's Gemini around 28 and Claude around 10. The takeaway, the clear frontrunner now has people genuinely shopping around. Competition, more choice, and keener pricing is good for everyone who actually uses these tools. And one more for the bigger picture. This one lands right in the lap of anyone who makes things for a living. This week, Adobe announced it's buying a company called Topaz Labs. If you've never heard of them, Topaz are quiet specialists whose tools are for photographers and video editors, and they swear by them. Those tools sharpen and soft a photo, clean up grainy footage, or blow a small image up to poster size without turning it into mush. Adobe's folding all of that into Photoshop, Lightroom, and Premiere. And 2 things worth noting. 1, it's another move in a long arm wrestle with Canva. Adobe's hoovering up the best editing AI so you never have a reason to leave its garden. 2, the bit I find genuinely interesting, a big part of why Adobe wanted them is that Topaz had cracked how to run these heavy AI models right on your own laptop instead of in the cloud. That's the quiet theme humming under the whole episode. The smart money is betting that the future of AI isn't only in some giant data center on the other side of the world, it's on the device right in front of you. Right, enough doom. Let's talk about the science that'll shape the next decade, because this was genuinely a big week for it. First, quantum computing. Researchers at Duke University worked with a company called IonQ, managed to link 3 separate quantum computers in a single connected network, using nothing but light to carry the signal between them. The plain version of why that's a big deal: for years the dream of a truly powerful quantum computer has hit the same wall. You can't just keep cramming more bits into one chip. This is a clever workaround. Instead of building one impossible giant machine, you build lots of small, well-behaved ones and teach them to talk to each other. That's the exact same leap we made with ordinary computers, from one lonely machine at a desk to a whole office wired together. The moment machines start talking, everything changes. This is a proudly Australian footnote here too. The same week, a company called PsiQuantum broke ground on a big quantum computing facility up in Moreton Bay, Queensland. Backed around $940 million, so when the headlines obsess over Silicon Valley, some of the most ambitious quantum work on the planet is being poured into Australian concrete right now. Zoom right out. This week, around 1,500 leaders gathered in Dalian, China, for what's nicknamed Summer Davos. Among them, the World Economic Forum's 100 technology pioneers for the year. Early stage companies chasing everything from nuclear fusion to mining the moon to robots assisting brain surgery. The stat that stopped me cold is AI now accounts for more than 60% of all the venture capital money in the entire world. 60 cents in every investment dollar is chasing one idea, boom, bubble, or both. You decide. Before I let you go, my favourite bit this week is tech history, because this week's full of birthdays and beginnings. Alan Turing's birthday was on June 23rd. He was born in 1912, and he sketched out the idea of a computer before a single one existed. And then he helped crack the Nazi Enigma code in the war. Every device you own is a distant grandchild of an idea he had with a pencil and paper. Also on the same day, Vint Cerf was born in 1943, often called one of the fathers of the internet. So on the very same day, we celebrate the man who dreamed up the machine and the one who built the web that it lives on. A couple of beginnings too. Microsoft was officially incorporated June 25th, 1981. That scrappy little software outfit that grew into the giants whose Teams apps, and funnily enough, blinked out of Monday's outage. Also, Reddit launched on June 23rd, 2005, and that very site lit up this week with everything that wobbled. 21 years on, it's still where the whole world goes to ask, is it just me or is everything broken? And one final one for the free speech file. In June 26, 1997, the US Supreme Court struck down a law called the Communications Decency Act. It was one of the first times a court had to wrestle with what the internet even was. And they decided it deserved the same free speech protection as a soapbox in the town square. So, that's your week. A cut cable, a couple of borrowed keys, a reminder to mind your own back door, 3 quantum machines, learning to chat, and a handful of birthdays that quietly built the world we're all standing on. Here's the thing I keep coming back to. So much of this stuff feels like it just happened to us. The outage, the breach, the next big number in news. Some of it does, but understanding it, that's the part you can control. That's the whole reason I do this, to hand you back a little bit of, I get this now. Because once you understand how something works, it stops being something that happens to you and starts being something you can make a decision about. If something this week made you go, oh, that's what that means, hit subscribe, because that's exactly what I do here every week. Tell me down in the comments, did Monday's outage catch you out mid-Zoom? Were you one of the thousands yelling on Reddit? Be honest, are you about to go and check your AI settings like I asked? I'm Ming Hansen. Stay curious. I'll see you next week.